Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Punctuation. In this short video, I'm going to be talking you through 5 of the most common punctuation mistakes I see in my students' work, plus some easy solutions. At the end of this video, I'm going to be giving you a tip that is going to change the way you work and increase your accuracy. So let's get started. Let's have a look at error number 1, the comma splice. This has to be one of my biggest bugbears as a teacher because I see it in work from year 7 all the way up to year 13. Perhaps you're wondering to yourself, well, what even is a comma splice? Do I do this? Let's find out. Have a look at this sentence. Does it look okay? I love going to the park. It's so calm and peaceful. This here is a comma splice, this sneaky little one in between these two sentences. Now, you might have been told when you were younger that you put a comma where you breathe or pause, and actually that's too simplistic and it leads to errors. There is a simple rule to stop you making this mistake. If you can remember that you never put a comma between two complete sentences, then you're golden. Instead, go with your friendly full stop. You could also use a connector. You could also use a semicolon. Check out my video on comma splicing, when not to use a comma, if you want a little bit more information on here. So, the comma splice, don't do it. Error number 2, crazy capital letters. I know that you know how to use capital letters. I know that you know that proper nouns need capitals, the beginning of sentences need capitals. For some reason, this is what I tend to see. Look at this. It was a hot day and all I, lowercase, wanted was to go to the beach. Why? Why is it a capital? Look at this one. Gemma was allowed to go on her own without her parents. It was just so unfair. Where's my capital for Gemma? Where's my capital for I? Now, like I said, I know you know how to do it, but it's when you're writing so quickly and perhaps casually, like you might on a text message or in an email, that these mistakes happen. So just be as conscious as you can when you are writing, particularly formally, that you're not slipping into these bad habits. So it should really instead look like this. Error number 3. Adding apostrophes where you don't need them. Now, apostrophes can be quite tricky, and if it is an area that you find difficult, again, I do have a video dedicated just to apostrophe rules, so please check that out. But let me show you one common error that I see a lot. The cat was angry and its tail was twitching. You don't need an apostrophe here. People make mistakes with its such a lot, and the reason is because it breaks the rule. Okay, normally when you're trying to show possession, like the boy's bike, you would use an apostrophe, but there is an exception to the rule when it comes to pronouns. The only time that you're going to use an apostrophe with its is when you are squishing together it is. That is the only time. So it should look like this. The cat was angry and its tail was twitching. There's another place that I see apostrophes added where they're not needed, and it's this. Okay, the 1600s were infamous for the persecution of witches. This little apostrophe here. This is a form of pluralization. Just because it's a number, it doesn't break the rule. It should look like this. The 1600s. With no apostrophe. The only time that you would use an apostrophe here is if you were saying something that belonged to the 1600s, i.e. possession. So keep an eye out for that, and like I said, do have a little look at my apostrophes video if you want a bit more guidance. Error number 4, the dodgy colon. This is something that I see when people are trying to create lists and they feel that they want to introduce them, and they end up with constructions that look a bit like this. My favourite pie is made from, colon, chicken, asparagus and leek. See how clunky that makes it feel? And the reason it feels clunky is because actually you shouldn't be putting a colon after a fragmented sentence or a partial sentence. You should always have a complete sentence before your colon. If you want to see the resolution to this, It's simple. Just take it away. You don't need a colon there at all. My favourite pie is made from chicken, asparagus and leek. It's as simple as that. Error number 5, the final error, punctuating speech. Our direct speech is really, really difficult. And there are all sorts of rules that you need to bear in mind. And again, like I said, I do have a video specifically for punctuating and setting out direct speech. So do go and have a little look at it. But here is something I see quite commonly. I love going to the cinema, full stop. He said happily. Now, actually, because we've got a dialogue tag here, this full stop should be a comma and this should be lowercase, okay? Because you're adding this, it almost makes this an entire sentence in itself. So I love going to the cinema, comma, quote marks, he said happily. Now, when I teach this to my students and they do exercises, for example, on making sure that they're using the dialogue tags and punctuating properly, I start to see this. The focus becomes on making sure this is correct, and they forget about this. Where's the full stop? So make sure that it's not just the speech itself that is punctuated, but the whole sentence, including the end of the dialogue tag. So it should look like this. Lowercase h with a comma, full stop at the end. Full stop at the end. So those are my 5 most common mistakes that I see in my students' work. And here is my biggest tip. Yes, there are solutions to all of those problems, which I really hope you go and find out and practice. But actually, a lot of them could be picked up simply with proofreading. It's the bit that everyone hates to do. You know, you've spent an hour writing a story. You don't want to go back through it and try and find your mistakes because you're proud that you've done it. So actually, here's the best bit of advice I could give you. Proofread as you go. Write 1 paragraph and then have a quick look. Double check those mistakes that you know that you have a bit of difficulty with. And if you proofread as you go, your writing will become more accurate as you go. So rather than correcting 20 comma splices at the end, you're correcting 3 and then not doing it again. So please, 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 proofread, proofread, proofread. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, this is just a quick run through. If you want more details about any of these punctuation errors, there are videos in the spelling, punctuation and grammar playlist. So go and have a look. Click that button if you haven't yet subscribed and tune in for my next video.